How Michael Jordan really became a billionaire. When people talk about Michael Jordan, the conversation almost always starts with the basketball, the championships, the killer instinct, the scoring titles, the moments that made him feel invincible. But the more you look at his life after basketball, the more you realize something else. Jordan didn't reach billionaire status because he played the game better than anyone. He reached it because he understood something most athletes never do: how to turn fame into ownership and ownership into real money. What is strange is that none of this was obvious when he came into the league. He wasn't born into business. He didn't arrive in 1984 with a financial playbook or some long-term strategy. In fact, most of the early decisions that made him rich weren't even meant to be business moves. They were opportunities he simply recognized earlier, trusted earlier, and negotiated better than anyone around him. The more you dig into Jordan's story, the clearer it becomes. The man who terrified defenses for 15 seasons is the same man who quietly outplayed the entire business world for the next 25 years. And the path he took from a rookie with a $500,000 base salary to a billionaire with a global empire is full of moments that are easy to miss unless you look closely. How did he do it? How did a kid from Wilmington go from signing his first sneaker contract to earning more in retirement than he ever did on the court? And why did the same decisions that other athletes ignored become the foundation of a billion-dollar fortune? That S, what we are breaking down today, every major step, every turning point, every deal that mattered. Because Michael Jordan didn't just build wealth. He built a blueprint that athletes, businessmen, and fans still study today. Section 1. The Rookie. Who didn't know he'd change the entire business of sports. When Michael Jordan entered the NBA in 1984, nobody, not the Bulls, not Nike, not even Jordan himself, had any idea what he was about to become. On paper, he was a talented rookie with a strong college resume and a $6.3 million contract spread over 7 years. Good money for the time, but nowhere close to superstar-level wealth. His salary wasn't going to make him rich, and he understood that almost immediately. What he did know was that he had something most players didn't: the ability to make people care. He played fast, he played fearlessly, and he played in a way that made even casual fans stop whatever they were doing just to watch him move. That magnetism, before anybody called it branding or marketability, was Jordan's biggest advantage long before the world realized it. In those early months, Jordan wasn't thinking about business plans or ownership stakes. His focus was simple: win games, win fans, and make the league take him seriously. But the people around him saw something more. His agent, David Falk, recognized that Jordan wasn't just a basketball player. He was a personality, a symbol, someone who could represent products the way movie stars did. And this is where Jordan's journey toward billionaire status quietly began, not with a multi-million-dollar investment, not with a boardroom meeting, but with a simple belief: if he kept playing the way only he could, somebody would eventually pay for the association. This early period is important because it shows a pattern that repeats throughout Jordan's life. Every major business move he makes later, sneakers, endorsements, ownership, licensing, comes from the same place: maximize his strengths, ignore the noise, and let performance open the next door. Jordan didn't walk into the NBA planning to build an empire, but the rookie who wanted to prove himself on the court was already creating the demand that would fund his entire financial future. Section 2. The Nike deal that shouldn't have happened. By the time Jordan finished his rookie summer workouts, every major sneaker company had their eyes on him. The safe choice was Adidas, Jordan's favorite brand growing up, and Converse already sponsored the league's biggest stars. Nike, on the other hand, was struggling. They weren't a basketball brand. They weren't even close. Their running shoe sales were dropping, and internally, they were desperate for something new. Jordan didn't want Nike. Nike wasn't cool. Nike wasn't established. Nike wasn't Adidas. The only reason he even walked into the Nike office was because David Falk practically pushed him onto the plane. Falk knew Nike had something no other company was offering. They were willing to build an entire product line around Jordan instead of just giving him a standard athlete contract. And that's the key. Jordan didn't just sign a shoe deal, he signed a royalty deal. In 1984, that was unheard of. Most athletes were paid a flat check. Sneakers sold? Great for the company, not the athlete. Jordan's deal flipped that completely. He would earn a percentage from every pair of Air Jordans sold. It's impossible to overstate how unusual and risky this was at the time. Nike wasn't proven in basketball. The NBA literally banned the first Air Jordan for breaking uniform rules, and the league fined Jordan every time he wore them. Nike paid those fines, happily, because controversy sells better than advertising. The first Air Jordan hit stores in 1985. Nike hoped to sell $3 million worth in a year. They sold $126 million in the first 12 months. That single decision, the royalty structure, eventually made Jordan more money in retirement than every salary he earned in the NBA combined. He wasn't working for Nike. Nike was working for him. This deal also introduced a new idea to the sports world. An athlete isn't just a player. They can be a brand. Jordan became the proof, and every superstar deal that came after LeBron, Kobe, Ronaldo traces back to this moment. But none of those would have happened the same way if Jordan hadn't said yes to the company he originally didn't want. His billionaire journey didn't begin with a business class or a financial strategy session. It began with a meeting he didn't want to attend and a contract that turned his name into an asset more powerful than any salary the NBA could ever pay him. Section 3. The endorsement storm that turned him into a global icon. Once the Air Jordans exploded, every major company started lining up for Michael Jordan. It wasn't just about basketball anymore. He had become the face people trusted, the name people noticed, and the personality brands wanted to borrow. His influence was reaching homes far beyond Chicago, and companies realized that putting Jordan in front of their product made people pay attention in a way nobody else could. But here is what made this part of his journey different. Jordan didn't say yes to everything. A lot of athletes at the time signed deals just because they were offered. Jordan was selective. He avoided products that didn't fit his image, avoided companies he didn't believe in, and kept his endorsements aligned with who he actually was. That discipline kept his brand clean, simple, and powerful, something extremely rare in the 80s and 90s. His first major campaign outside of Nike was Gatorade, and it wasn't just another sponsorship. It became a cultural moment. The Be Like Mike commercial in 1991 didn't feel like an ad, it felt like a song everyone grew up with. Kids sang it, adults remembered it. It wasn't about selling drinks. It was about selling the idea of Jordan's personality, the joy of watching him play, and the feeling that maybe, in some small way, people could connect with him. That campaign did more for Jordan's celebrity than any championship ever could. Then came McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Wheaties, Hanes, and Upper Deck. Different products, different audiences, but all connected by one simple idea. Jordan made things feel more valuable. Companies didn't hire him for generic athlete endorsements. They hired him because his presence changed the emotional meaning of a product. Gatorade felt energetic. McDonald's felt fun. Wheaties felt inspiring. Hanes felt everyday relatable. He could stretch his brand across industries without watering it down, something very few celebrities can do even today. By the mid-1990s, Jordan's endorsement income had completely separated from his NBA salary. In some years, he made 10 times more off the court than he made playing basketball. And the best part? This money didn't depend on games, injuries, contracts, or age. It grew even when he wasn't playing. These deals didn't just make him rich, they trained him. They showed him how companies worked, how branding functioned, how value was created, and why ownership mattered more than paychecks. Jordan wasn't just building wealth. He was building a reputation that would later allow him to walk into boardrooms and negotiate from a position few athletes had ever earned. His endorsements didn't make him a billionaire by themselves, but they gave him something far more important: the foundation, the leverage, and the global recognition that made every future business move possible. Section 4. The investments that quietly built his long-term wealth. As Jordan's fame kept growing, something important happened behind the scenes. He stopped thinking only in terms of endorsement checks and started looking at ownership. Not the flashy kind you brag about, the kind that builds wealth slowly and quietly in the background. A lot of athletes make money, very few keep it, even fewer grow it. Jordan paid attention to the business world early. He watched how brands used his image, how companies expanded, and how value multiplied over time. He started putting his money into areas that didn't depend on basketball, and more importantly, didn't depend on him being in front of a camera. One of his first major investment moves was in real estate. Throughout the late 80s and early 90s, he bought properties in Chicago, then expanded into North Carolina and Florida. These weren't random purchases. They were in growing markets, tied to cities he either played in or lived near. Real estate gave him something he couldn't get from endorsements: stability. Whether he played well, retired, or took a break, the property value kept moving upward. This is also where you see Jordan's personality influencing his decisions. He wasn't chasing the hottest trend or trying to become a real estate mogul. He bought strategically, he bought patiently, and he held on to things for the long run. By the early 2000s, he started investing in more structured ventures, things like restaurants, car dealerships, and partnerships in businesses he believed had long-term potential. Many of these weren't headline-making investments. They weren't meant to be flashy. They were meant to be steady. And that's exactly why they mattered. Jordan's wealth wasn't built on a single giant win. It was built on dozens of smaller decisions that aged well. He diversified early, avoided high-risk gambles, and kept his money in assets that didn't collapse the moment his playing career ended. What's often overlooked is that Jordan didn't rush any of this. He waited. He learned. He allowed time to work in his favor. All of these steady investments, real estate, local businesses, long-term partnerships, created a financial base that gave him something most retired athletes never have: freedom. Freedom to make bigger moves later. Freedom to take calculated risks. Freedom to explore opportunities that required both wealth and credibility. This phase of his life wasn't loud or glamorous. There were no commercials, no viral moments, no iconic photos. Just a superstar quietly building the foundation for a fortune that would outgrow even his legendary career. Section 5. The ownership move. That changed everything. By the mid-2000s, Michael Jordan was already making more money off the court than he ever did in the NBA. But none of it, not the Nike royalties, not the endorsements, not the investments, was enough to make him a billionaire. That leap required something bigger: ownership. In 2006, Jordan bought a minority stake in the Charlotte Bobcats. It wasn't a glamorous team, and it certainly wasn't a profitable one. Most people saw a struggling franchise. Jordan saw an opportunity, a chance to get into the NBA ownership club at an entry point he could actually afford. 4 years later, he went all in and became the majority owner. At the time, the franchise was valued at around $275 million. Not cheap, but nowhere near what NBA teams were about to become. Over the next decade, the league exploded in value. New TV deals, global expansion, and rising interest in the sport pushed franchise prices upward every single year. Jordan didn't need the Hornets to win championships. He just needed patience. In 2023, when Jordan sold the majority of his stake at a valuation of around $3 billion, that single move pushed his net worth into billionaire territory. Ownership didn't just grow his wealth, it multiplied it. Section 6. Licensing. The money that never stops coming. One of the most underrated parts of Michael Jordan's wealth is something most people barely think about: licensing. Long before athletes talked about passive income or brand equity, Jordan was making money every time his name, face, or jersey appeared on a product without lifting a finger. Instead of building every business himself, Jordan let companies pay for the right to use his image. Trading cards, video games, clothing lines, posters, collectibles. Even when he wasn't actively involved, the checks still came in. This wasn't an accident, it was strategic. Licensing turned Jordan's identity into an asset that kept earning long after he retired. Every new Air Jordan retro release, every NBA 2K appearance, every Upper Deck card, they all added to a stream of income that flowed for decades. And unlike endorsement deals, licensing isn't tied to performance or public appearances. It's tied to demand. As long as people love Jordan, the royalty checks keep coming. Most athletes earn money when they work. Jordan earns money because the world still wants a piece of who he is. Licensing didn't make him a billionaire by itself, but it gave him something athletes rarely have: consistent, predictable, long-term income, the kind that quietly builds wealth in the background while bigger moves take the spotlight. Section 7. From athlete to entrepreneur. The mindset shift that separated him from everyone else. By the time Michael Jordan retired for the final time in 2003, he could have lived off his sneaker royalties and endorsement income forever. Most players would have. The money was already enormous, the fame was global, and the legacy was secure. But this is the point where Jordan made the shift that truly separated him from every other superstar of his generation. He stopped thinking like an athlete and started thinking like an entrepreneur. Jordan understood something that most people never consider. Talent creates opportunity, but business creates longevity. You can compete forever. You can stay in commercials forever. And eventually, some new star replaces you on the highlight reels. But ownership, royalties, equity, and investments keep growing, whether the spotlight is on you or not. This is the mindset that shaped every decision he made after retiring. Instead of chasing fast money, he focused on long-term value. Instead of buying liabilities that looked impressive, he bought assets that quietly appreciated. Instead of depending on Nike, he built a licensing machine that paid him even when he wasn't doing anything. And while athletes around him were spending their peak salaries on cars, jewelry, and mansions, Jordan kept stacking deals that paid him for decades. He understood early that celebrity fades, but brand value, when managed correctly, doesn't. This is why Jordan never rushed into creating a big company with his name on it. He never tried to be an executive in front of the cameras. He never forced the business mogul image. He chose only the deals that made sense, the partnerships with long-term sustainability, and the investments that didn't collapse the moment trends changed. Jordan didn't become a billionaire by working harder. He became a billionaire by thinking longer. It is the difference between a paycheck and equity, between fame and ownership, between being marketable and being a market. Section 8. The Legacy of a Billionaire. What Jordan built, that money can measure. Today, when people hear that Michael Jordan is worth over $2 billion, it's easy to assume the story is simple: great player, great shoes, great money. But when you step back and look at the full picture, his legacy is much bigger than his net worth. Jordan didn't just build financial wealth. He built a framework that changed how athletes, brands, and even leagues think about value. For decades, athletes were paid for what they did. Jordan showed they could be paid for who they are. His sneaker line didn't just break records. It became a cultural language of its own. His endorsements didn't just sell products. They set the modern standard for how sports marketing works. His licensing deals rewrote the rules for athlete branding. And his ownership stake in the Hornets proved that athletes didn't have to wait for corporations to hand them opportunities. They could create their own. Even more interesting is how quietly he did it. Jordan never positioned himself as a financial guru. He didn't host conferences, write business books, or spend interviews bragging about deals. Most of his biggest moves happened off camera, behind closed doors, with patience most athletes never practice. And that's the real lesson. You shouldn't become a billionaire by having one perfect moment. You become a billionaire by stacking smart decisions for 30 years. Decisions that keep paying you long after the applause stops. Jordan understood timing, leverage, ownership, and brand value better than anyone from his era. His business empire isn't an accident. It is the result of discipline, selective choices, and an understanding that greatness doesn't end when you retire, it evolves. Jordan's legacy isn't just 6 championships or iconic highlights. It is the blueprint he created for turning talent into a lifetime of wealth, influence, and when people talk about Michael Jordan, they usually keep the story inside the lines of a basketball court. 6 championships, 2 three-peats, the shrug game, the flu game, the shot over Russell. Those moments are unforgettable, but they should only half the story. The other half happened far away from the TV cameras, in boardrooms, contract meetings, investment discussions, and conversations that had nothing to do with jump shots or vertical leaps. That is the part of Jordan's life that almost never gets the spotlight, the part where he proved he wasn't just great at winning games, but great at understanding value. Most athletes peak early and spend the rest of their lives trying to hold on to the spotlight. Jordan did the opposite. He used his fame as a starting point, not the finish line. He treated every opportunity like it mattered, every contract like a long-term move, and every business decision like something that could outlive his playing career. His journey shows something simple but rare. Greatness isn't only about what you do when everyone is watching. It is also about the choices you make when nobody is paying attention. Jordan didn't get rich because he was lucky. He got rich because he understood leverage. He knew that the world didn't just love his talent, it loved what his talent represented. And he found ways to turn that into ownership, independence, and long-lasting wealth. Shoes became a brand became a legacy became equity, and equity became generational power. There's something almost poetic about it. The same competitiveness that made him dive for loose balls and take every big shot is the same competitiveness that pushed him to learn the business side of the game. He didn't want to be famous. He wanted to be in control. And he built a life where nobody could tell him what was possible.